Oh my, did it ever go wrong for Mark Carney in the House of Commons today? Welcome back to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. As we've been back in the House of Commons with Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney together for a little while, we can start to see the difference in the two, the caliber of Pierre Poilievre versus the empty, hollow words, repeated slogans of the Liberal Party and of Mark Carney. And I think that it's starting to reflect in the polls, and Mark Carney's really starting to feel the pressure. So sometimes he stands up and he says the most ridiculous things, thinking that he's making a good point, as we often see coming out of the far left. They think they're making a point, and they're actually making the point they are making is opposite to what they think it is. We're going to have an exchange here between Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney in another episode of the House of Combat. And I promise you, Mark Carney is left laying in ruins. Pierre Poilievre, not only does he just crush him, he does it with ease. Before we get into it, I want to encourage all of you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this channel with all of your socials.
Mr. Speaker, today the Prime Minister and I will meet to discuss the 10th Liberal budget deficit. Our priority as Conservatives is an affordable budget for an affordable cost of living for the Canadian people. The Prime Minister promised he would spend less, but his deficit spending is 100% more.
For those of you that might not be super good at the math, 100% more means double. I know it seems like a weird thing to say, but if you have $1 and I give you 100% more, I will give you $1. So you'll have $2. If you have 1,000, it becomes 2,000. If you have 1,000,000, it becomes 2,000,000. 100% more means all of it. Not 75% of it, not 50% of it, 100% of it. And it's in that respect that you have to think about doubling. So that is a lot of money because Trudeau left us with a massive deficit.
He promised he'd be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Well, they're now rising at 2 times the Bank of Canada's target, and inflation is now once again out of control. Will the Prime Minister learn from the inflationary, costly failures of the 10 years of Liberal government and accept our plan for an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this budget will get operational spending under control. It will balance our spending over the next 3 years. But we're not going to stop there. We are going to invest in this country. We're going to have the biggest investment in this country in generations, the largest capital spend in generations, the most ambitious trade diversification in our nation's history. We will do everything to help Canadians get ahead, as they have gotten ahead every single month since I became Prime Minister.
The Honourable.
First of all, there is no way in the world that Canadians have gotten ahead every single month. Every month I do a video on the economic situation. We know we've lost 68,000 jobs. We know that they've lost 3,000 in the car dealer. We know that another 1,200 out of Ingersoll. There's no way in the world that what he just said there is true. There's nothing to support what he just said economically in all of the forecasts and all of the numbers. What is traditionally, historically, the busiest month of our calendar, August, was a flop. On top of that, everything that he just said right now was exactly the same thing he said on the campaign trail. And the key word in all of it, never mind that he said, you're going to fix this and he's going to do, it's gonna. I'm gonna. He's had months. The Liberal government has been promising that it's just around the corner for more than a decade. However, if we just want to take it from this particular individual's beginning, all I heard him say on the campaign trail was what I just heard him say right now. It's going to be the expenditure. It's going to be capital this. We're going to do, just give me 3 years to look after it. Ridiculous. Canadians don't have 3 years. People that are losing their jobs in Ingersoll, people that are losing their jobs in Oakville, they don't have 3 years. We need solutions right now.
Leader of the Opposition.
Haven't bought groceries lately.
Canadians, according to this Prime Minister, have never had it so good. If you're that single mother out there walking down the grocery aisle looking at prices rise before your eyes, if you're that senior choosing between eating and heating, If you're one of the countless Canadians who see that roasted coffee is up 41% since the Prime Minister took office, that nuts and seeds up 15%, that food price inflation is now double the target, or if you're one of those 2 million people that are lined up at food banks every single month, the Prime Minister says you've never had it so good. How is it possible for this Prime Minister to be so costly and so out of touch with reality?
Here, here.
Oh my, that was so easy, right? I mean, he looked at the paper for a couple of statistics, but otherwise that just came right off. And what we need in Canada is a leader who could think on their feet, not like Mark Carney, who's just regurgitating old campaign slogans.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Okay, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's time once again for our economic lesson. Okay. Getting ahead means your wages grow faster than inflation. Let's look at the relationship between inflation and deficits. The inflation rate in Canada, the food inflation rate, is the G7 average, and we have the lowest deficit in the G7. What the government is going to do is use that deficit to grow this economy like it's never seen before.
Oh, it's going to grow like never before. That's exactly what he said on the campaign trail, right? He was going to do it with lightning speed. Since nobody's seen it since World War II, everybody's going to get 5% off on their new mortgage. All the same things. It's just the same thing he's been saying for over a half a year now. And I'll tell you something, Mr. Carney, I don't appreciate you talking down to me. Like, I don't understand how much money I have and how far it goes. You're the one who wouldn't understand any of that. And to hear, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're on the far left, going to get ready to come at me in the comments, remember this. What he said was that your hourly wage or your wage outgrows inflation. Every time a company has to pay more money, whether it be for your wages, whether it be for their gas, whether it be for their product, it doesn't matter, electricity, they have to recoup that somewhere, and that's me and you. So it's impossible to say that the wages are outstripping the cost of living because they go hand in hand. The only way we're going to outstrip the cost of living is to bring our monthly bills down. Rent, fuel, food, these things have to come down. And then we will start to be looking at what it means to have some money to spend. But again, there's nothing in what he just said that wasn't a slogan that they said back in, March.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So the Prime Minister says to that single mother, that small business owner, that senior I just referenced out there, that he needs to give you economic lessons. You are the one out there.
Oh, what a burn. Oh, that was so good. See what I mean? Right on his feet.
Who are watching prices rise right before.
The honourable member knows to speak through the chair, and there was a lot of noise around that. So if the honourable member could just start from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is now lecturing Canadians who are lined up at food banks, telling them that they've never had it so good. That if only they appreciated all the many promises that he's made, promises that he hasn't even begun to keep, that they would then be appreciative of the fact that here we have fresh and frozen beef is up 14%, fresh and frozen cut chucks up 12%, frozen meats up 11%, coffee grains up 40%. Does he believe that people paying these exorbitant prices should be thankful for his economic lessons?
The right.
Now, I believe in cost of living to be the number one standard of a measure of our culture. It's not how much our dollar's worth. It's not how much the GDP is. It's none of that. It's how much does a person have to pay to live a decent middle-class lifestyle. Their food is one of the only components to consider. People can walk, they can take the bus, all that kind of thing. but you need food and you need shelter. And if you don't have quality food and quality shelter at an affordable rate, then there's no other point to talk about. Of course, Mark Carney doesn't understand that because he wants to tell you that because he is a Harvard graduate and who speaks economics, it's you that doesn't get the fact that your money doesn't go as far as it used to. It's not him. It's not him and his policies. It's somehow you're not shopping correctly. I would love for just 1 minute to see this guy try to survive on even the average income doing his own grocery shopping. But of course, he would never do his own grocery shopping.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we promised to cut taxes for every Canadian. 22 million Canadians have their taxes cut. We promised to cut taxes on first-time home builders. They've been cut. We promised to cut the carbon tax. It's been cut. You weren't here. It's been cut. It's been cut. And we promised to build this country strong. November 4th, this House will have a choice. Are you with us for those single mothers? Are you with us for those farmers? Are you with us to build this country strong so they can get it?
And now we're back to this. Oh, if the Liberals don't get the support of the other parties, it's not because the Liberals' decisions were horrible, right? I mean, he says, oh, Pierre Poilievre wasn't here, thinking in his mind that he's made a burn. You heard them around him all giggling. But you're right, he wasn't there. He wasn't there to tell you that you were making a mistake. He wasn't there. You were there, though, Mr. Carney. You were absolutely there. And we can see that that tax cut did nothing. What did it save? A family of a dual income family, I think it was $18 a month or something. I did the math. It was a cup of coffee a day, like a takeout cup. So Mark Carney was there. The Liberal government was there. And when these decisions came down, and it's the first time I've heard them mention the GST cut on first-time home buyers in a long time, because not only are the young people who are trying to buy homes not buying those condominiums, there's thousands of them up for sale right now, but when they are buying them, they're not finding any benefit in the GST cut. So what he just said was nothing, but it is exactly the same thing that he's been saying since March. So how does that really play out for you? Now, you know the Liberal government is desperate to get a soundbite when they all stand up and clap like trained seals. On cue, right? These are not the kind of people who are invested in any of that. They just think that they somehow got a burn. Again, no consideration to what you're going through. And we know that they're desperate because they reverted to the Hail Mary that Justin Trudeau was saying for years and years and years. If you don't support us, you're the problem, not us. But they don't support you, bud. They support Canadians. They're in it for the people on the ground, which is something the Liberal Party clearly does not understand.
Again, I would remind honourable members, it's through the chair. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I think he meant to say, are you with us for the bankers and bondholders who will be collecting record interest payments on the newly doubled national debt?
Come on. Oh, what a burn. The best part about that burn is that it's 100% true.
The Prime Minister has literally doubled the deficits that he inherited from the Liberal government, deficits that were already exorbitant and out of control. And what do you know? Inflation immediately started to rise. 2 of the 4 measures are outside of the acceptable Bank of Canada range. All 4 measures are above the Bank of Canada's 2% target. The more he spends, the more things cost. Does he acknowledge at least that every dollar he spends comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadians?
And that's a good point. No matter who you are in this society, you're paying taxes that this guy is spending. And every time he goes into what they're calling deficit spending, he's actually spending the money of your newborn child, of your grandchild. He's spending their money.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are putting more dollars in the pockets of hardworking Canadians because we cut taxes on 22 million Canadians. Mr. Speaker, our focus is putting even more dollars in the pockets of hardworking Canadians.
Oh, I can't stand that when they say that. They just think that by adding the word even more, the words even more, somehow it's significant. Like, when you listen to this guy, do you think anything he says is applying to your day-to-day living?
That is why we will have the most ambitious capital investment program this country has ever seen, the most ambitious home building program this country has ever seen, the biggest investment in defense and our industrial capacity that this country has ever seen, and the biggest and most effective climate competitiveness strategy that this country has ever seen.
Well, what a condescending person Mark Carney is, thinking that he's going to tell you about the climate while you're going hungry. Of course, he had to slip that in there because he wants you to think that all of these ridiculous investments that he's calling capital investments that are not anything to do with the pipeline, that are not anything to do with mining, and I'm sure are going to be billions of dollars promised to China for solar panels and wind turbines that do not work, for EV electric cars that do not work, that don't work in our weather, that don't work in our current electronic system, like the grid we do not possess. But I'm sure he's trying to line Canadians up for this ridiculous idea that somehow by making his investments in China whole, you are going to be improving your standard of living. Like he thinks that Donald Trump is just going to sit idly by economically while the Chinese flood our market with all of their cheap steel, cheap subsidized products. Solar panels have to be, you need the sun. Now, you're living in the city in Canada. Let's just say you're living in any city that's not Vancouver. Tell me how often in the course of the day, from November to February, that you see days of sun. I mean, the sun sets in this country at what, 5:30 during the winter? It's 6 o'clock. You know what? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and call it 6 p.m. So right out of the gate, it's not even a full 12-hour exposure to the sun without any leaves being on it, without any snow being on it, without being overcast. My goodness, there's a reason we don't get sunburned when it's overcast, because the sun is simply being deflected by the clouds. But I mean, if he's a client wizard, he should be aware of the basic science of these things. Of course, it takes diesel engines to fire up a wind turbine. Don't even get me started on the amount of toxicity that's created when you manufacture these batteries for these electric cars. Don't even get me started on the amount of infrastructure that has to be destroyed so that we can put in all the charging stations that he wants for these electric cars. This vision that Mark Carney possesses for the electric cars is really about his portfolio and not about what's best for Canadians. We need a leader who's looking out for what's best for Canadians. Now, we can see toe to toe, he doesn't stand a chance to go against Pierre Poilievre. All he has is a reliance on his bought and paid for propaganda, the CBC, CTV, Global. And on top of that, he has everybody thinking that because they've supported Mark Carney, they're doing harm to Donald Trump. Now, I ask you, as you look around, even if you're looking, just look anywhere beyond the CBC, and you will find that you have not in any way, shape, or form harmed Donald Trump. But you have harmed Canada. You have harmed your own life if you voted in support of the Liberal government. Because inflation has increased a lot. Food prices have increased by nearly 30%. I pay attention especially to the food prices, which oftentimes you will see the basket that they talk about will omit food prices. Canadians are not living a better standard of living that this guy promised us back in, April? Donald Trump's people are living an amazing standard of living. Doug Ford running up and down, pounding on his chest like some sort of a person who doesn't know what he's doing. It's no different than Mark Carney trying to make promises that A, he can't keep, and that B, will not help Canadians even if he could. Climate. We need to get that oil out of the ground because people want to buy it. And once they start to buy it, people will have jobs. And once people have jobs, we can build houses. And once people build houses, they will have a nice community to live in, safe streets. And so on and so forth. Since the beginning of time, this is how humans have lived. Why does Mark Carney think that he's the guy that's going to come in and try to alter all of that? I mean, there are countries in the world that have nothing but electric scooters running all over the place. and they buy combustion engines. So I don't see how Mark Carney's vision for the environmental future for Canada, leaving aside the ridiculousness of the claim that there's some sort of a climate crisis. Let's just look at the idea that he thinks that this is the best, cleanest way to live. Canada, one of the cleanest countries already to live, cold all year round. Most of the country is frozen. Some of it is frozen all year round. It's very cold for most of the year. There are parts of this country that have already received snow. At time of recording, it's October. But he needs to have his investments in China with the solar panels, with the wind turbines. And he wants to use your tax dollars to pad the lining of his pocket for his investment, blind trust investments in China. He remembers what they are. He knows who they are. He knows who those people are. Meanwhile, you and I are paying through the nose for food in one of the largest countries on earth. And during the Second World War, they referred to most of Canada as the breadbasket of the world. We got food. Of course, we also have a carbon tax, putting the cost of our food through the roof. We can import mushrooms from China and sell them in a store for less money than the ones that we can buy that are grown in Canadian. I thought this guy was Canada first. I thought this guy was Canada strong. Sorry, Pierre Poilievre was Canada first. Of course, he's not any of those things. What he is Carney first. What he is, getting his investments looked after. He doesn't, your standard of living is not crossing his mind. And even if you were to take the standard of living and yell it at him across the floor like you hear Pierre Poilievre does, he completely ignores it. Because they don't understand what it means to have hardship. They live above all of that, thanks to you. You're the one that provides that to them. And it's time that you, as a Canadian, understood that you can easily take it away. You tell your MP, whether they be Liberal, whether they be, doesn't matter who they are, you do not support any more expenditures. You do not support any more out of control spending. Mark Carney promised to get us a trade deal with the United States. Now he says that that's not a big deal. Mark Carney promised, has delivered nothing. And that's all you need to know. The rest of it doesn't matter. He has delivered nothing. And if it was your boss, if it was your husband, if it was your wife, if it was your boyfriend, if it was your parents, anywhere in there, anywhere, your best friend, complete stranger. If they told you something and did not follow through, would that be something that you continued to support? I know what I think. I'm going to wrap here. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.